got the northern lights. Baby, you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nyemade, and I'm here with another episode of Bold, Black, and Addicted to Bravo, because I am bold, Black, and addicted to Bravo. And as always, I have some guests with me to talk about different things happening in the Bravo world and just in life in general, but through the lens of Bravo shows. So I have Khera with me and Keisha, and they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we are going to talk about family ties. But to start with, Khera, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, my name is Khera. I'm a makeup artist and beauty writer from Toronto. I am also a huge fan of Bravo, love the different Housewives franchises. It's a great way for me to kind of add a little bit of critical analysis to the show, kind of question why certain things happen the way that they've unfolded. I love to kind of get a little bit deeper into it and think, was that a real situation? Was that a production situation? And I also kind of like really examining the show to see, in what ways is it relatable to my everyday life and the everyday life of other people. So for that, yeah, I'm a big Bravo fan and I'm very excited to chat today.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me. And Keisha?
Hey, I'm Keisha. So I severely love Housewives. It's kind of a problem. It's my guilty pleasure because I'm that one who's like, I don't like reality television. Then I look back, I'm like, well, you grew up on Real World, you loved Road Rules. But there's just something different about Housewives. But before the pandemic, or actually really 2019, I didn't really watch Beverly Hills or New York. So that wasn't something until actually Garcelle got cast and I didn't start watching Beverly Hills. And then now with New York, I think I watched it in 2019 and now I know too much, I feel like. And it's to the point that I use an everyday conversation. So it's a problem. So I'm here to talk about it.
Nice. I love finding fellow Bravo addicts. I'm the same way. And then you drop like references that you just expect people to know, like,
and like nobody knows.
Nobody gets it.
Yeah, nobody gets it.
I mean, he's like, someone's in the pool, your husband's in the pool. I love when my friends in the pool, so I can let them know your husband's in the pool and they don't get double entendre.
And they don't get it.
Yeah. Like, don't be so uncool. They're so quotable is my favorite.
Beverly, I can't meet a Beverly without being like, or something else. I don't even lick my lips anymore. My gracious.
Oh my gosh, I know. That's a mess. A whole mess.
So normally with these, just to get us in a fun mood, I start with a game. I started originally with Black Card Revoke, but I ran through those. So now we're playing Bad Choices. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions. Let's get us comfortable with each other. The first one is, have you ever thrown a party that was shut down by the cops?
Almost. It was in college, but I hate that this is such a privileged thing to say because a girl who, was in a privileged situation, she goes, oh, well, that police officer, I dated him, so you'll be okay. So I ended up getting away with it because I definitely was underage, or at least was hosting people who were underage. So I almost got it shut down, which is crazy because like in 2020, the same police force hated my ass. So so it's a little different now, but
yeah, it's different who you're with too at the time, right? But
yeah,
at least you're with the right person that time, so you didn't get in trouble. What about you, Khera?
Never hosted, but definitely have attended more than once, but never hosted.
I wish. I haven't been to any wild parties like that. I see them in the movies, but no.
That we had a band in my house, and then someone actually fell from the top of my banister and then came down the banister, went through that bottom banister. It was a whole, oh my God, it was the most hilarious thing. We call it human bowling. Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
I love that. Would you rather be rich than happy?
I think I'd rather be happy.
Yeah. And honestly, what's rich, honestly? Does rich in money or in family or it's such an objective. I think it should be an objective word, but I mean, and also the pay scale is so different now. You can be comfortable in your own little bank account now.
And I was also going to
Listen,
say,
I'm gonna
I
be
was also,
honest.
go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say also too, I think if you're happy, if you're speaking just from like an economic financial perspective, if you're happy, you might have more motivation to be able to do something about your situation versus if you were rich and miserable, there are, a ton of things that you could do and find yourself in trouble.
That's true. That's true.
So,
I feel like I grew up really wanting to say I'd rather be rich than happy. I mean, I'd rather be happy than rich. But I've just decided to just accept and embrace the fact that I would rather be rich because that would make me happy. Because, because I feel like at the end of the day, no matter what avenue you go down, you're not happy all the time, right? Like if you're rich, you still have problems. If you're poor, you still have problems. And I know people like to tell themselves like, oh, one's better than the other. I think you have issues either way. So then for
regardless, yeah.
me, it's like, well, which problems do I want to have? Do I want to have the problems of, not being able to pay bills or having like those types of struggles? So I've been there before and there's nothing wrong with it. And, character building as it was, I'd rather like cry on like a yacht or something, so I'm ready for
Fair.
rich people problems.
Cry on a yacht.
This is another money one. Would you rather win $50,000 or have your friend win $500,000?
No offense, I don't care about my friend right now.
I want to win 50. Yeah.
Yeah, I deserve it, honestly. And like, I don't mean to talk about me, but like, I went through a brain surgery earlier this year, and like, I'm still recovering from it. And I used to be like, oh, this, that, and third, money, this and that. I'm like, no, money is a lot, and I need
Right.
it. So
Yeah.
that I maybe in another life, but for this one, I want the 50K so I can not worry about anything.
Yeah. And I agree. I think like everything is important, but I know for me, like besides health, money is the next thing where it's like, if it's out of line, like everything feels out of line. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to focus on other things when you have like that struggle that you're dealing with. All right. One more. Have you ever lied about your occupation?
Actually, no. I've always liked my jobs, so I never had to.
I have like several times.
I have when I've like gone out like back in the day when I was younger and my fake ID party days. I would, because I'd have like my alter ego when my friends and I went out. And so she had a whole different job. So that's good times.
What was her job? Do you remember any of her jobs?
It varied. I would change it all the time to just stuff that sounded fun. So, because I didn't want to talk about my job, like, oh, I'm in mortgage. It's so boring. I would want to do like fun stuff. Okay, well, so as I mentioned before, today we were talking about family ties. I don't know about you guys, and we'll find out a little bit about you, but I'm really close to my family. Well, my family on my mom's side, where I grew up with my brother and sister, I'm African. I was born in Liberia. So like our family tree is like the tree of life with like all the different branches and the mothers and the kids, and it's a lot. But my immediate siblings I'm very close with. So I'm always like checking interactions on these shows, and I'm always like intrigued by them, whether it's like the siblings. So we'll talk a little bit about like the Richard sisters on Beverly Hills, or whether it's like in-laws with Teresa and Melissa, but then also siblings with Joe and Teresa. And then also like just cousins with like Whitney and Heather from Salt Lake City. But like, what are your family dynamics like? Are you close with your siblings, cousins, things like that?
I can start. Overall, not really. I have one sibling that I'm pretty close to, and then I have a cousin that I'm very, very close to, and I, consider her like a sister. But with some of my other siblings, not really. I think it's just I think life just kind of happened, and we just kind of like ended up going our different ways, but also um, coming from different households because some of my siblings are from previous marriages on both sides. So having like an age gap and different things like that. I'm the only child between my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
So with an age gap and just different things, it's just, yeah, like we are cool, but we're not close, you know? And then the one brother I have and my cousin, we're very close. So it's a bit of both, I guess you could say.
Okay.
I'm actually I'm the youngest of four. And the funny thing is the age differences, 18, 11, and 7 years. That's kind of the age differences between my siblings and I. And I love them. We actually are in a group chat together. The closest sibling maybe lives like 50 miles away. They actually just moved from like being 90 miles away. I'm pretty close with them. Not everything was perfect, but I think the thing with me is I was a little left out because two of my siblings are 3 years apart and they were best friends. And a lot of them lived a lot of life together. I mean, I wasn't born until one of them was 18. So, but in times there were that I definitely felt left out, and my sister was very annoyed with me because it was a little sister following her around. But my brother and I, who are the 7 years apart, and it's boy girl boy girl. Him and I are basically the same person. I send him memes. We send each other memes all the time. So I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate, and I come from a Haitian family, and family's huge in Haitian culture. So I think that's also a reason why, like, you're not really allowed to have friends. So family was everything.
Nice.
That's
Yeah,
nice
it's the
though.
age differences are interesting because like my siblings, my sister and brother, they're only 2 years apart. So there's like a 5 year between me and my sister, and then the two of them have 2 years. So they're closer, but we're all still pretty close. And then like you, Kara, I have like siblings from my dad's side, and some of them still live in Liberia, so that's like a hindrance. And so we're cool, but usually when I say my siblings, I mean my brother and sister, and then also sometimes I mean my older stepsisters who are actually their siblings, not even my sibling technically, but I'm closer to them because they live in proximity closer to me. So it's an interesting dynamic. And one of the things I always find interesting overall, not just like with siblings, with relationships in general, like I'm a huge loyalty person. And I get that people often say, like, oh, you can't pick sides or you shouldn't pick sides. But I feel like when it comes to family, like, oh, yeah, you should pick a side. And like, if you are saying something negative about my family member, I shouldn't be able to be cool with you. So it's always interested me, like, when I watch The Housewives and I see that. So, like, when we talk about like the Richard sisters, it may have been before you started watching, Keisha, but uh, not Kyle.
Kim?
Kim. Yes, Kim used to be on the show, Kyle's
I love
sister.
Kim.
Well, I watched all of it. I binged
Okay,
as soon
you
as Garcelle they made that announcement
you
because I
went
was
back.
on Instagram. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna binge this one. So
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. So she had the whole thing with Brandy, and she was really good friends with Brandy while Brandy and Kyle weren't friends. And like, so then they would get in fights, and Brandy would throw out all this stuff that there's no way she would have known without Kim telling her. And like that always upset me on two levels. A, why are you throwing out this stuff if I'm telling you confidentially as a friend? And then B, I didn't understand how Kim could be friends with someone who would treat and talk to her sister so poorly unless she was saying what she wished she was saying, which is kind of what I felt like was happening. What did you guys think?
I
Keisha,
thought
go ahead.
I know when you're miserable, like no one matters. It doesn't matter who you hurt. And from what we've learned, I think we do know that Kim was sick. And she was not all right. However, it was still not okay. And I hope she's learned from it. But also Kyle, who seems to be very happy, also likes to let kind of people run over her sisters a little bit, I believe. So I think they all kind of a little bit guilty of it. But like with Brandy, that was just nasty. Like, I want to, but I'm with you. I want to let anyone that just puts a nasty taste in my mouth, especially someone who's my kin, someone who's my blood, and you feel comfortable to talk mess to me about it.
That's the part too.
That's weird. Like, why I should be shutting that down. Why am I even allowing that? As soon as their name comes out of your mouth, I'm gonna do the pay. I'm gonna don't. So it was a little bit weird, but I do know that she was very miserable, and she was not very well, but it still doesn't warrant it. I wish she did shut it down, but that wouldn't be me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Kara?
So that whole dynamic I just find super interesting to begin with, because I think for both Kim and Kyle, I think there's so many years of like hurt feelings and resentment that their relationship is just based off of what we're seeing on the show. Like their relationship is just so like contentious. Like 1 second they're okay, the next second they're not okay, and it's literally like they just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Where I almost think from Kim's perspective, Brandy was saying what Kim wants to say.
Yeah.
But Kim's just not going to say it because obviously, A, she doesn't want to say that stuff on camera, I'm thinking, but also B, she doesn't want to say it because she doesn't want to be the person saying it about her own blood, to Keisha's point, or about her own family. But somebody else has definitely, permission, basically. That's what Kim has given Brandy by confiding in her to the degree that she did. Because I just remember that one episode where Brandy is getting in Kyle's face and is like, I've been there more than you've been there. Like, you've done zero.
Right.
I'm like, is Kim not going to say anything? And
No.
Kim is just standing there crying or whatever she was doing. But I'm like, that's because you're letting her say it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
she mentioned too, like stuff about like their house and things like that. And it's like, there's no way she would know those things unless you said it. And back to your point, Keisha, it's like, and I'm like this with my friends too. It's like, why do they feel comfortable talking about me to you? Because like anyone who knows that I'm good friends with someone, like you're not going to talk smack about them around me, because either I'm going to defend them or I'm going to tell them what you said. And that's how it should be. So for someone to feel so comfortable to say so much, it's to me always a warning sign.
I agree.
And I think it's interesting too, like when you talk about that loyalty, the siblings who love shouting about loyalty, Joe and Teresa, all the time about loyalty this and loyalty that. Meanwhile, they're like the most disloyal to each other because they're constantly befriending people who irritate each other. They're constantly going out of their way to hurt each other. And I think that, like, I get Joe's in a rough spot because it's his sister and his sister-in-law and his wife, but that whole dynamic, what are your thoughts on that train wreck of a triangle?
Well, I mean, you said it. It's a train wreck. I love to watch, but it is a train wreck. Toxic in certain aspects, but also, I think everyone's wrong. Everyone's wrong. Yeah. So I have a hard time trying to decide, like who do I believe more? Who would I, side with? Because I think they are literally all wrong.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that too. And it's so funny because I love the Gorgas, but like, yeah, they're kind of wrong sometimes too. And like, two things can be the same. Yeah. I still love Melissa, but still know that she loves attention and that she might be like using it a little bit as a storyline. But like, when you take away the storyline part, what I paid attention to was how Teresa reacted anytime someone spoke. Because anytime someone spoke, she would talk louder and she wouldn't let them finish. So she never wanted to listen to what they had to say. She just wanted to prove a point. That is not trying to fix anything. That is just trying to have yes people around you the entire time, when these people in real life strip away the cameras. When you were somewhere else because of your ex-husband, they really did step in, like regardless if it was a storyline or not, which whatever. I think people forget that real life happens. So it really bothers me that she wants to talk about loyalty, but she allows people to call her brother a bitch boy, especially
that blew my mind.
Hated me. And I was like, you really are letting someone who took care of your children or helped take care of your children be called that, and your only sibling? If someone called my brother,
and she's the older of the sibling too. Like, do you know how much I would mess up somebody for saying that? I'm not even violent, and I would mess them up for saying that to my brother. Are you kidding me?
I'll go to jail for it. I'll go to jail.
Yeah. Same.
It baffles me. Like I am, not really happy with Melissa and Joe sometimes, but like Teresa really has grinded my gears, as they say. But I mean, just from her behavior herself and how she has reacted to, like, the fact that you're treating people that you barely know better is weird to me. But like that's what happens when you're a little narcissistic and you just want to hear yes men. Because it does seem like to a degree Joe and Melissa do know how to have conversations and fix things, but she doesn't. I think part of it also has to do with family dynamic. It sounds like because she was the oldest one, she was the most spoiled, and her parents never said no. So when people say no or give her a reality check, she's like, no, what are you talking about? Louie's perfect. My daughter's, it's just like, she's like up there in the cloud and we're like, hello, come down, please. The Manzos are calling, we need to get you back to reality. So it's just a little much. Like, I don't want to be related to that.
I have such thoughts about Teresa. So, because she drives me insane the way that she like it seems like she just can't like rationalize certain things. And like, it's like you said, it's always, she wants yes men. And when anyone tries to point out anything wrong to her, she gets very upset. And I don't know how you ever truly have healing with someone who holds grudges on that level. When she was at the shower and they were talking about, they're at the reunion and I'm sorry, it's so funny to me, but she was talking about how she was upset that Melissa didn't move her wedding because she was
my
pregnant.
gosh.
That killed
me. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're mad she didn't move her entire wedding because, and like, you could tell she's still upset about
it.
How do you ever find healing with someone like that? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, even if you say you're sorry, and even the whole thing with them both being on the show, because that was the main factor of their drama. And if you watched Ultimate Girl Trip, they talked about it a little bit. And it really just comes down to the fact that Teresa is upset that Melissa and Joe didn't tell her immediately when they began the talks of being on the show. And Melissa's like, we didn't tell anyone until we knew we were really in the process. But that's not being loyal to Teresa. And so to this day, she still is holding on to that grudge. And I just don't know how you ever find healing with someone like that. And then also with Teresa, what I find interesting is she, as I mentioned, she bugs me. But after a while, I just sort of came to terms with the fact that like she may not be the brightest bulb. And so me trying to like look at her through the lenses of all the other bright bulbs maybe was doing her an injustice. So it's just like, okay, like just Teresa can take what she can take, and that's that. But then at the pool party they were having, they were talking about the Louis thing. I don't know if you remember the beginning of last season. They were
when Margaret
had just started out. And they were like talking about it, and then Teresa specifically said, oh, sometimes I pretend like I just don't know because I don't want to talk about it. And then they showed her pretending like, and I'm like, oh, has she been like, is she like a secret genius? Has she been fooling us all this whole time? Like, all of us are like excusing her, like, oh, Teresa's just dumb. Oh, Teresa doesn't get it. Like, does she get it? And she's just playing dumb because that's easier? Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, I think with certain things she doesn't know, but then I think with other things she does know. And I think when it comes to Melissa and Joe in a lot of instances, I think she's bright enough to know where she's gone wrong or where she's dragging something on for too long, but she doesn't care. And she's just like, I feel how I feel, and I'm gonna hold our relationship over your head and you're gonna do what I want whenever I say it, because I can say, you and I are not going to have a relationship if you don't do this for me. And she's obviously proven that like she can do that with them, because even when they went to, where'd they go? Texas or something like that?
Yeah.
And she was fighting with Margaret, and she literally said to Joe and Melissa on the phone, she's like, you guys better have my back, and I'm not kidding. And she said it like more than once, and they were just kind of like, okay.
She's Teresa the Terror.
So she knows. Yeah, she knows when she's doing it and she knows when she's not.
I just find it really interesting in the fact that like how do you deal with someone like that in your family? Like, I'm so blessed that we don't, at least not on the immediate family level that I have to deal with, because it's like, she holds a grudge forever. You can't rationalize with her. And like you said, she knows that she can tell them like, it's my way or the highway. And you literally have to agree with her, because what are your choices? To not see her? She has the ability to hold them hostage because she can.
Mm-hmm.
I think unfortunately in this instance, because their family is so small, I feel bad for Joe in a way, because that's literally his only living family now, you know. So I feel bad for him in that instance, because I feel like you can tell that's why he kind of acquiesces to her so many times. Or even at the reunion, when Melissa is very clearly very upset about the fact that she wasn't a bridesmaid, and Joe is like, I'm not even trying to argue with you, and he was like saying, I just don't think it was nice, you know. It's like, if that were me, I'd have a lot more to say than, I don't think what you did was nice, you know? So he's trying his best, because that's his only living family. But me personally, if that wasn't the situation, the how I would deal with someone who's like that is I wouldn't deal with them, period.
Even if they're family, or outside of family?
Family, outside of family, in-law, we're not speaking.
Yeah, I kind of have a family member who's, I'm not gonna say it just in case they watch it. I kind of have a family member who's a little tough. And like sometimes I just had to mentally prepare myself. And/or I had to let them know, like, this is a boundary, and if it doesn't work, then you have to leave that situation in that time, because you will get upset and there's no reason to be upset. But then I do get upset and then I cry about it. And so it just goes to show that they really just don't care about you. Sometimes it really is their feelings that are overhauling everything. It doesn't matter if their feelings are valid or not. And I think that's very dangerous for anyone. That's dangerous behavior. But yeah, it's tough. You have to make those decisions, but also it's very exhausting to the other party. And like, how do you, like you said, how do you expect for people to come towards you if you treat them in such a way?
Right. Well, I think having that victim mentality helps. That it's their fault, not my fault. And unfortunately, you can usually always find yes men. But I find, kind of like what you were saying, Khera, like if our relationship only works if I agree with you and I say yes to you all the time, then we don't really have a relationship, because I'm not going to be around someone who I have to tiptoe with. Especially while you're going around making reckless choices the way Teresa does. And it just, like, the way that she's able to justify her doing something wrong, but be upset at someone else for doing the same exact thing. Like, that lack of accountability is what like really like sets my teeth on edge with her. And anyone, like, a lack of accountability is definitely one of my triggers, and she sets it off with me so bad.
I would say for me, it's like a lack of self-awareness, and then and also a lack of accountability. So if it's always like, or like, but I did this because, all that stuff, I'm like, get out of here with that.
Like,
and then the self-awareness part, where it's like, well, I can acknowledge that in this instance, maybe I didn't move the right way, I didn't say the right thing. Like, you have to have that for us to be able to, because
And I feel like she's the type of person, like, you have to be able to be on your high horse with her, because the minute you get down to tussle with her in the mud, like, you've lost. Like, the minute you give her an inch to say you did this too, it's over. Like, you can only win in an argument with her if you're so far above it that she's clearly the only one in the wrong. She has to very clearly be the only one in the wrong, because the minute she can say you did something too, like, you're never gonna get
like
her
the whole Jackie and Evan thing.
Exactly.
She's like a dog with a bone with that.
Yeah. I was actually
girl, it's not the same.
She's bringing those bad habits to Gia. Like, there were a couple of times that Gia was trying to get her check and wanted to talk to some adults as if she was adult enough to talk to them. And you're seeing her irrationality come through her. And again, I think it's because she's also very spoiled. And because she hasn't been held accountable for anything, probably. She's been handed everything. We've seen that girl be spoiled since the start of New Jersey. Like, even the way that she spoke to people, from when she like lost a competition and she was disrespectful amongst adults, but Teresa allowed it. So this is what happens when you allow that behavior. And now it's becoming generational because when these kids get hit with something, probably in the real world, they'd be like, well, but that person did this, because they don't know how to look inward, because their moms probably always told them by showing them it's never your fault. That's dangerous.
It's always somebody else.
Always someone else.
Yeah, I agree. What about family and secrets? So going back to the Richard sisters, they give us good topics to talk about. I feel, I know I forgot which one of you said it, but you said that like part of why Kim was giving Brandy with the fuel was so she wouldn't have to say certain things on camera. And I think that that's absolutely true, because one thing Kyle has never been able to live down was being the person who said, like, you're an alcoholic. There, I said it. Like, there are people to this day who will be like, I loved her until that moment, and now I can't stand her. Because to them, she let out this huge, and it was a big secret. But they were also having this huge argument in the car, and Kim was saying whatever. But I don't like, is it your responsibility to hang on to your family secrets like that? And especially it's like, what if their secrets are impacting around you? You know, like Kim's behavior was impacting their life and the things that were going on around her. So do you keep that secret?
On screen, yes. I'm sorry. Family's my family. That's why I don't don't sign up if you don't want to share anything, for real, for real.
Yep.
So, I can't. I can't do that to family. That's gonna haunt me. The secrets are supposed to be secrets for a reason. And sometimes people aren't comfortable with dealing with it in such a forthcoming way that's on screen and in your face all the time. And then having people criticize you for it on top of that, like there's gonna be a reaction to how you let those secrets out, and I don't think it's necessarily fair to let someone else's secret out without consoling them or letting them come out with it first. Unless if it's like very criminalizing, it can like help, nail the coffin in something that's, very bad. But no, just for entertainment purposes, I think that's terrible. I think that's not okay. But also being sisters and fighting, I don't know, maybe she did. Maybe she did it. Kyle was probably just fed up and didn't think it would hold so much weight, because those were the earlier seasons.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills. So it's not like what we're seeing today, like with Beverly Hills and
very calculated these days.
Yeah, it's not and overproduced.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I think it was like a real moment, like, oh, these sisters are really fighting. Like she's real, because I would probably like be like, oh well, you blah to my sister. You pigeon head,
like I think with that moment, and I'm sure Kyle would love to forget it. I'm sure Kim would love to forget it, because I can only imagine how painful that was for both of them for different reasons. But I think it was just like it was actual reality TV. That's what we saw in that moment. That was an actual real moment. And so many people say, like, when they've done reality TV, is that like you forget that the cameras are there very, very quickly, because you get comfortable with like the crew, and like you become friendly with them, or they kind of start to feel like family, depending on how long you've been working with them, that like you really just say whatever. Right. So if those two sisters are arguing, and who knows how long they were filming at that point, and how many hours they were filming, right, for the season, I think it's very believable that Kyle was just fed up, and she was sick of Kim, and she was like, listen, like, this is what you are, and like I'm tired of you, type of thing. But also, when siblings argue, they sometimes say things to really get at the other person. So I think that was just a very real moment. But to answer your question, I think if I were to be on a reality show, and let's say one of my siblings were to also be on a reality show, and there were things that we knew about each other, I almost think it's kind of like, okay, so reality in 2022 is not reality TV from 2001 or even 2008. People are going to be digging. So what are you talking about? Because people are going to be digging anyway. It's going to get exposed regardless. So do you want other people to expose you, or do you want to expose yourself on the show, since you want to be on the show? So, we're going to have to talk about it.
That's true. If you're going to be on reality TV these days, like you just know. And side note, so I know that they're casting for New York, the new New York. I'm a little bummed because
The reboot.
The reboot, yeah. I'm a
Okay.
little bummed because I heard they're going for like bigger names, like influencers and things like that. And I'm just like, no, that's not what, like, I personally want them to take it back to like women who aren't as on social media. And I know that that's good for their ratings, but I want them to like be real for a couple of seasons. And I think when you get people who are influencers and things like that, nothing wrong with that, but they're going to be more self-producing because they're aware of what they look at in front of the camera. They're aware of these things. Like we need more like unaware people like Sutton who will not realize like girl.
The only influencer I need on my screen on Bravo is Paige. She's the only one who I enjoy. But like I don't want the influencer. It's just so fake. Also, I know they're probably going to go with people who aren't really from New York or who probably transplanted to New York. I want to know, I want to see people who actually lived in New York when Black people lived there before it was highly gentrified. I want to know people who like went to Peter Pan Donuts before it came out. I want people who were old enough to listen to Biggie when he was.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is I want them older. Yeah, I want them older. Like I don't want a bunch of 30-year-old housewives. Like, even though I'm like you guys, like I grew up on the Real World. I love all that, but I love the gap between there. And for me, Housewives was seeing rich older women behaving badly. And now they're just getting younger and younger. And I'm just like, I mean, I know I'm also getting older and older, but I'd like them to stay like
aunties.
Yeah.
50s.
Yeah, I want to see aunties like act a fool on television. Like it's fun. I think it was I think I was listening to Carlos King's podcast episode with Ebony K. Williams, and she was like, I have a very extensive like friend group of like all different ethnic and racial backgrounds that Bravo could pick from.
Right.
And I know, Ebony is like a professional woman. I'm sure in her network there are a lot of women who are also just like everyday professional women. Like that's something that I would want to see. I don't want to see influencers because like you said, they're going to be so aware of the camera. They're going to be self-producing the entire time. They're probably going to be pushing all of these different products and businesses and all these different things on us. But to me, I don't really feel like that's always the most authentic. It's just kind of like you just want to cash in. And I don't really want to see that.
Right.
I want to see professional women. Like, let me see, I don't know, Ebony's a lawyer. Let me see another lawyer. Let me see a doctor. Let me see,
either like professional women or like housewives. Like,
or an actual housewife.
Or an actual housewife.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why I love Married to Medicine. Like, I love that show. They're still real, even though they have got their problems, but they keep it real. And there's a wide variety of them. So that I really enjoy that show.
You could argue. I know we're talking Housewives today, but you could argue that Married to Medicine is like miles ahead of Housewives in a number of different ways. It's way better. It's way better.
What's going on? I keep telling people, I'm like, watch this. I'm like, I need you to know what I'm quoting because this is America and I get to choose who I That's gonna be life.
Mexican messy boots. You remember that?
It's just they're just so funny and their fights are good and then they make up good. Like Married to Medicine is a gem on Bravo and more people need to realize that, I feel.
Yeah. There needs to be like a quick side note, quick tangent, but like the way people go up for Heavenly, I feel like there needs to be like a deeper investigation as to why so many people like dislike Candace because they are just as opinionated and they can say just as like lowball things, but like people like strongly dislike Candace. And I will admit I was one at one point. I was like, this, like, she is so like extra. And then I had to think about it. I was like, well, if I like Heavenly, I have to like Candace also because it's the same thing.
You know what? I love that you posed that question, and I can give you an opinion on my viewpoint. So I used to hate Heavenly as well. Like she was too much. She like was ridiculous. She was lowball. Like I couldn't stand her. And Candace was annoying too, but I liked Candace at first. And then it grew to just, she's too much. Now I'm back on the, all right, Candace.
For me, it was the same thing.
But Heavenly, I grew to enjoy because I stopped, and I know this sounds bad, but I stopped thinking of her as like a person and started thinking of her as like the reality show cast member.
Character.
Right. In which case, she is excellent television. Would I want to be friends with her in real life? Probably
Absolutely
not. I mean,
not.
I'm sure she's like a lovely acquaintance type of person, but especially seeing like what's been going down with her and Contessa, like, I don't want to be friends with her in real life, but I love her on television. And so I can ride for her messiness because she brings good TV versus I think like Candace, we still very much see as a real person. So like when she does, at least for me anyway, so like when she does stuff, it's like, come on, especially because like Candace is so witty in her confessionals and like she's really funny and she does bring a lot. And it's just like you're almost there, like that thing where like almost there, like she's so close to being great and you're like, you want to root for her. And then all of a sudden she says something so left field. You're like, girl, come on. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. And so then it comes, so I think like with her, at least for me, it's like it's a little more personal because I want to like her, not just like as a character, but like I want to like Candace. And I do like Candace, and then she just takes it too far. And so I find more disappointment in her versus like with Heavenly, I'm just like, whatever, Heavenly, it's just television.
Right. I feel can I just say one more thing that we can move on?
No, I love it. Yeah.
No, I loved Candace. When she first started, I was like, oh my God, she's so bubbly and fun and cute and funny. And then season 5 was like such a dark season. And I feel like maybe the fact that I liked Monique as well kind of clouded my judgment a little bit. I think it clouded my judgment. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of like, I just found like she just took like a dark turn, I guess you could say, in my like the way that I was watching the show. And then I actually watched some episodes back and my opinion changed again, and I was like, no, I'm back on, loving Candace and being a fan of Candace. But I think what happens often is like the ladies know she's going to respond and explode so emotionally, and I would love for her to be able to stay like tapped into not responding so emotionally, and like you said, just be even wittier and be even funnier, because then that would make for a great scene, because it's like, you can't outwit her. Let's say a lot of the people that try to argue with it, like Mia, for example, like you can't outwit Candace. So if Candace just doesn't respond emotionally and just keeps it like light and funny, it would be an incredible scene. And I think Heavenly kind of, she gets it a little bit more, which is why I think from when she started to now, I'm like, she is so hilarious.
And I think the age thing helps her too. Like, I don't know exactly how old she is, but I think of her as being older. So to me, she's just like that crazy older auntie. Like, she's just, she says what she
who's
says.
just like, oh girl, whatever.
Yeah.
To like everything.
So on a real side note,
I guess.
On a real side note, because I watch Love, and I know this is not Bravo, sorry, but I watch Love and Marriage Huntsville, and Heavenly and Marcel were on Carlos's after show. The way she was dragging Marcel,
I heard she got in his ass.
Living for it. Yes, I was like,
he deserves it though. He needs it.
Oh God, Sheree. He's he by Sheree now.
Well, one more thing on family, that people make family jokes all the time about cousins. I've never really had cousins that I was close with. I wish I did. I mean, I'm glad I had my siblings. We see a little bit of a cousin dynamic with Whitney and Heather in Salt Lake City, which I think is good, because I think you feel like that closeness without necessarily, I would think, the same level of protectiveness that you feel with a sibling. It just gives you a little bit of, like, I guess, more of a family ties. Are any of you close with your cousins? Do you have that cool, fun cousin vibe?
I'm very close with one of my cousins. Very, very close. So we, hang out, talk like often, truly like a sister relationship. So I kind of like seeing that dynamic with Whitney and Heather, even though I don't like them. I like seeing that dynamic on the show.
You're not team bad weather?
No.
Are you team?
Honestly, I don't like anybody. I don't like anybody on Salt Lake City.
Okay.
It's definitely a franchise that I'm watching because I still want to see everything play out, and I want to see what's going on in Utah. It is Utah, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I want to I want to see what's going on there. And I like how they've infused a lot of the history with like Mormons and stuff like that, and I like how diverse the cast is and all that stuff. But no, I don't like anybody.
Mhm.
It's my sitcom.
Yeah.
But it's funny that so I think I recently found out that they actually didn't know they were related nor really knew each other until like
The
recent.
show, right? Yeah.
Yeah, or something like that.
Oh,
So it's
interesting.
kind of funny how they're like still kind of close. So you can kind of tell that they want to stick by each other because of the blood, but I also want to know how different that dynamic would have been if they had known each
If
other
they,
entire lives. And
Mhm.
like if they
right.
would be so like I watch Real World or the challenge Real World Challenge, and there was this cousin on there with Jenna, and she's like, you just think you're cool because your dad owns a bakery or something like that. There's something stupid.
Yeah.
There's stupid drama about like an uncle in a bakery. So I wonder if we would have gotten moments like that if they had grown up together. But I do find
Mm.
their dynamic a little funny. Although I think Whitney be putting on for the cameras a little too much because she definitely was a big fan before the show, and I know that like
Mhm.
this is like
You
her.
can tell.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you can tell. But Heather is just so organic and so fun, and she likes to share her business and her life with her kids and share her story. And I think it's cool that we do have a pair of cousins in this dynamic, especially when it has to do with the Mormon faith, because the Mormon faith it's
And
very
a pair of cousins that are both now outside of the faith.
now outside of it, yeah.
Yes.
So you get two different perspectives, but within the same bloodline of being in that religion and now being out of it. And so it's kind of interesting to me because I often have the like, well, what if questions with those two now. But I do enjoy watching them. It's my sitcom. I'm gonna sadly miss Mary, to be honest, because she literally made me laugh. But
It made me laugh too. Yeah.
women.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, so yeah, let me take that back. I did like Mary because she was great comedic relief, but she's also an interesting lady.
She
Yeah.
is, but she's one of those things like I love reality TV, A, for the entertainment, and B, because I like watch it like a case study in people. And like sometimes too, I like to like examine why certain people make me feel certain things, or like why like things bug me and things I'm able to let go. And like with Whitney, with Mary, she was so like authentically herself, even though she was a hot mess. And I find that we are always like, oh yeah, be yourself, girl, do you. And it's also why I like Lisa too, because I think that she is for the most part as well. And it's just like people like you and say do you until you do you and they don't like you, then it's a
And then
problem
it's a
that
problem.
you're doing
Yeah.
you. Yeah. And I like that Mary gave 0 F. She was like, nope, this is me. And
I pray to God you're guilty.
yeah.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you said you like Lisa Barlow because she's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And everyone whoever I mentioned, I was like, I'm actually a Lisa fan, and I count Lisa Barlow's at night. And people are like, oh, she's the worst. I'm like, honestly, I find her hilarious. I know
Cracks me
she also
up.
puts up right. She sits there and eats Taco Bell like all the time, and all these fast. I mean, she just cracks me up. I can't not like her. I don't agree with everything and everything she does, but I mean, she cracks me up. I don't care what anyone says.
Mm.
Yeah, she's another one where it's just like because I don't always have to agree with everything someone does for me to be a fan of it. And I actually think it's weird when there are certain people who are fans of people, but then can't admit that that person ever does anything wrong ever. Like that is
Yeah.
weird to me. Like it's okay to say I'm a fan of this person, even though they made
But
this
they were
bad
wrong.
choice, or even though they were wrong, because we're all human. We're all going to be wrong in certain situations. It's weird, and I think not right to think that someone's going to make no issues, or the fact that you feel like if you acknowledge they made a mistake, now you can't like them. Like you can still like them. So like that's the thing for me. Like Lisa has some moments where I'm like, well, but overall, I find her fantastic. I love that she loves herself so much. She's one of those who I really think that like people, if you like her, you love her self-confidence. If you don't love her, you think she has an ego and she's over the top. And that's how it's viewed most of the time.
Right.
Well, I have loved talking about siblings with you two. Thank you so much for joining me. I love talking to new people, and now I have your email addresses though, so I'm gonna add you to my email list, and hopefully you'll come back for one of our big group, because at the end of each season, I try to do like a cookout party with just a bunch of people
Oh my gosh,
about like
that's
the
fun.
season. So I think the next one will be Dubai. Is Dubai the next reunion?
Yeah,
the next
it's on
season,
Wednesday.
right?
Not like I'm counting.
Yeah,
it's
so
on
I'll probably be
Wednesday?
throwing a party after Dubai ends, and
Oh,
we'll
nice.
get together and chat about the
Yeah,
season.
that'll be fun.
That'll be fun. But thank you so much. And do either of you have anything that you want to share with anyone? Any place? I know you do makeup, Khera. Can people find you anywhere?
Yeah, sure. So my Instagram is at Khera, KHERA_beauty. So you can find me there, but I also write at Birdie if you're into beauty stuff, and the Zoe Report if you're into beauty stuff. So you can read some of my stuff there. But other than that, just thank you for having me. I had such a good time. It was so nice to like get these thoughts out with people who are also just as much, into Bravo as I am. So yeah, I had a really great time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. How about you, Keisha?
Yeah, this was super fun. Thank you. I also forgot to be like, how did you find me? I was like, it's probably from all the comments I be leaving.
It is. Yeah, I go through the comments and I'm like, all right, who else is posting like interesting comments where you can tell like they're really thinking about the show? So
yeah, and basically like,
yes.
Yeah, you must have
cussing
said
out
something.
some housewives without cuss words, basically.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Come for Diana. Anyway, just kidding. Yeah, I guess you can follow me on Instagram. I am a freelance photographer right now. I'm taking a break. Like I said, I had a brain surgery and it's about a year recovery. So I'm just like taking it easy. So I do have prints for sale, or if you just want to look at them and also need to switch them out. But yeah, you can find them in my link tree, but you can find that on my Instagram, which is Chocolate Quiche. Chocolate, CHOCOLATE, Quiche, KESH, to play off my name because I'm a genius. Not really. But that was my Lisa Barlow confidence. I was trying it.
Yes, keep it. Keep it. But yes, I'll include both of their Instagrams in the description as well. Thank you everybody who joined, and come back again. If you've missed previous episodes, they're all on YouTube, YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify. And this is season 2 of it. So if you missed season 1, go back and check those out. We had some great episodes. And thank you all and have a great day.
Maybe you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side.